Eggs, it rose by 13.63%. Flour, 11.34%. Other seafood that are non-fish, 10.82%.
Like a 3-room flat can go from $364,000 to $509,000.
People don't even have,
Emotional
in many countries,
damage.
people don't have that option to even be able to purchase a house.
Prices are increasing a lot faster than our wages are coming in.
There's this thing called the progressive wage model to help the lower wage workers.
Everybody has a different idea of what they want to do to live a comfortable life. But you have to adjust those choices according to what you can afford.
I'm Xing Qi and my head is covered today.
I forgot your designation.
Oh, my designation is good for nothing.
I'm Shahinda. I write and I produce videos for Mothership. Woo! And my head is covered.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm a writer here and my head is not covered. I did not get the memo.
Hi, my name is Drew. I'm a writer here at Mothership. I woke up late today, that's why I'm wearing a cap.
Okay, welcome to Bottlespin Debates. So here we pretend to be expert debaters. So every episode there's a socio-political topic that we will discuss in the form of a gamified debate, and we'll spin the bottle and see which camp we fall into, and then we'll debate for the win.
Yep, you guys get to decide the winning team, so let us know in our YouTube community post who you think did the best. And if you have any topic suggestions, you can let us know in the comments as well.
So today's debate topic is Singapore is an affordable country to live in.
Oof. Controversial.
Size in CDC.
Okay, so just a gentle reminder that the views expressed in this podcast do not represent the views of Mothership or other associated parties. Just a fun debate to keep Mothership going.
We'll spin the bottle, and the first two people who are chosen by the bottle, they will be on the 4 team.
Yeah, 4 teams.
Glad to see we haven't moved on from last week.
Yeah.
Wait, that's Drew.
Oh gosh. Okay.
You're 4.
One more.
It's 3 of us against Drew. Come on, Xing Qi, come on. Dude, what's wrong with your... Okay, it's you. Yeah.
We're going to argue for the point that Singapore is affordable. First off, maybe I want to acknowledge that yes, there are some things in Singapore that are expensive. Things can get expensive in Singapore. But when we're debating this topic, we want to argue that the basic stuff that you need to survive in Singapore, things like food and groceries, housing, and even things like healthcare and education and transport, are affordable by Singaporeans and Singapore PRs. We'll look at some of the policies going forward and show that, Singapore will probably continue to remain affordable in the future.
Hannah and I, we are against the debate topic. We think that Singapore is not an affordable country to live in. Firstly, we want to clarify that we are not just talking about Singaporeans or Singapore PRs. We are talking about everybody in Singapore, which includes foreigners, and also the marginalized groups of society. For example, low-wage workers, those who don't have the same means as the average Singaporean. And we also want to touch on some of the sectors that Drew mentioned earlier, such as healthcare, education, transport, and show that actually it's not as affordable as we think. To make Singapore an affordable place to live in, we need to look beyond just the basic standard of living. We want to ensure that everybody in Singapore can live comfortably for the rest of their life.
I just want to say that food and groceries in Singapore are generally affordable. Case in point, we have house brands in major supermarkets. Basic necessities, right? Like toilet rolls, tissue paper, even potato chips. I think there's a lot of choices for us to make. So that's why I always point people to the house brands, which are a lot cheaper. Also, I know it is not going to be, probably not going to last a long time, but the CDC vouchers are there to help at least cover costs for probably, a month?
Yeah, I agree. I think the only thing I might add on is about eating out in Singapore as well. We have like hawker centers where you have a whole range of food options for what I think is like still a pretty affordable price. Most of us that we go to the canteen nearby office, and it's possible to get 1 meat, 1 veg for $3.50, which I think is value that you can't find in many other places. And so that variety at that kind of lower cost option, I think is unrivaled almost anywhere in the world.
It's the same, as at groceries. I think there's a choice there. There's a choice to be made. I wouldn't say that, look, if it's cheaper or more affordable, it means that it is not as good. I think there's value in all these things, I like a certain house brand potato chips. I always buy them. I think that's great. It's like $1. And compared to other brands.
Which brand?
Meadows.
Oh,
yes,
yeah, Meadows
storage.
Yeah. The truffle one.
But now they have increased to 120.
See, prices on the rise.
Yeah, but I'm still okay with $1.20. Sometimes they have 6 for $5.50. I'm so good at this kind of stuff because I buy it consistently because it's value for money.
So Xing Qi, you're saying that as someone who has to buy groceries for a whole family, you find it affordable?
Of course, I'm feeling the heat. I can't lie.
The heat quite strong, right?
Yeah, but I think the cooling measures are there. I mean, even for alcohol or whatever, there's beer, right? For example, there's really cheap beer. Anchor beer.
Anchor's great.
It's great.
Are you allowed to say all these name brands and stuff?
Well, if you like to sponsor us.
I mean, if Anchor wants to send me a big old
barrel or something,
I will declare it to HR, but I'll gladly drink it with my colleagues.
Yes.
Not me though.
Yeah,
no,
I mean the ones
None for me.
who do enjoy Anchor.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of choices for us.
You do bring up some good points that we're all spoiled for choices. We have so many options that we can choose from. But then if you do look at the rise in prices, like for hawker centers, everyone's raising their prices because the rent has also gone up. It's not cheap running a hawker center. Like a monthly stall can cost up to $14,000 to run in a hawker center. So that price would evidently be passed down the chain and we will have to bear it as well.
Yeah, I think beyond just hawkers, right? I think even the basic food items such as poultry, eggs and stuff like that, the prices are increasing. And let me bring up a stat. According to the Singapore Department of Statistics, the average rise in the price of poultry increased by 14.7%.
What year is
Eggs
this?
is 2023. From January to November 2023. Eggs, it rose by 13.63%. Wow. Flour, 11.34%. Other seafood that are non-fish, 10.82%. That's insane.
If you look at online, you can see through all the Facebook complaints about Thai Fan going up to as much as $7. There's even one like some nasi padang going up to like $30 recently. Like all these costs do add up, and that is where you start to feel the pinch. It's not just like looking at it just one item, Maybe for women, sanitary products. It's not cheap in Singapore. Like I have to wait for sale just to purchase sanitary products. And like our average, maybe a month we spend maybe $18 just to get through those 5, 6, 7 days, while people in the US spend only $8.70 a month. Like that kind of discrepancy does feel it. And we have to spend this every month. And there's no like house brand for sanitary products,
Tell them.
Tell
the men. What?
I don't
What?
know.
I'm sorry.
Is it called a moon cup or something?
the menstrual cup, sorry.
You try the moon cup.
No, I'm just saying.
But
it's a regular thing.
Yeah, it's also personal preference because this is something that you have to wear consistently because you don't.
The moon cup is not
5 days.
as comfortable
Okay.
as sanitary pads, for example.
I wouldn't know.
Okay.
Never do.
Yeah, of course. So
Yeah,
don't argue.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying I wouldn't know.
This guy
Thanks
does.
for letting us know about the moon cup.
question.
And it's the cons of a moon cup.
See? Yeah,
And-
the
and-
nervous
and
already
to be-
keep bringing
And
it
to be
up.
fair though, like I don't actually see cups being actively sold.
Yeah, not in Singapore, at
Like
least.
when I found one, it was like £34 in the US.
Pound in the US?
Pound in the UK. I was like, because it was like everyone saying like, oh, it's so good and all that. It helps. It saves costs. But like at one go, at that time I was a student, £34 is quite a lot.
How much is it on Shopee? Just curious. Just wondering.
No, I haven't looked at the idea of a cup
I
yet
haven't
because like personal preference and to be comfortable, right? It's not something I want to explore.
Yeah. Even the cheapest sanitary pad, I would say
$4 for maybe like 4 or 5.
Yeah, only for like a few sanitary pads in one pack. And
That's not enough.
That's literally if for example if you have heavy flow, that's enough for one day only.
Half maybe.
Yeah.
Depends.
It depends.
You're saying this so that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep going.
Nothing to-
Period, right?
But it is like a very big
it's
No,
legit.
yeah, not disputing that.
It is a
It
basic
does
need,
seem
especially
like
for
Yeah,
women.
It's painful, I know.
I've heard it happens like every month.
Yeah,
Yes, it
yeah.
does.
Other things I've heard about it is that
Well, if
What?
you get pregnant, you won't have that.
yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, so
Oh, so
smart.
you want to talk about pregnancy and how much it costs?
Hey, but it's true. I think it's important for us to bring this up because you guys are talking about the general Singapore population, but we are talking about all these sectors, the specific members of our society who have to suffer and bear the rising costs, and something that people can very easily overlook.
Anything to rebut
do
the
you
rebut?
guys have anything else you want to
Yeah,
add?
I mean, you did talk about the increase in prices, and I think that that's undeniable. But like, that's the course of history as well, right? Prices increase throughout history, largely due to increases in wages as well, increases in living standards and things like that.
Well, I have something to add, but it's not rebuttal. It's just
What's
like
your
a
add-ons?
pro tip to order Thai peng.
Okay, come share
make
with
it-
our
to keep it
audience how
affordable.
to
Yes.
order
So
Thai
the
fan.
first thing that you have to order is a meat item, so that they think you're a baller. If you're feeling rich, you order fish. Oh man, I tell you, they think you're gonna be a baller.
I do not know what to expect from
Yeah. So when
this.
the first is a meat
I'm
item,
tuning out. I'm just.
and then after
tuning
that
out.
you can do all of your veg thing because they will give you more.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't eat Chai Peng.
I mean, you can give some tips on nasi padang would be.
Get your mom to cook lah. Correct or not? That's what I would do.
No, wait. I do have one thing to add that I just remembered off about, like, in terms of like Singapore's variety of affordable food options. I remember when I was backpacking in Japan, I was at the hostel. I was just chatting with some dude from like America or whatever, and he was
What a life. What a life
back,
you lead.
back then. I mean, like I was like a pretty poor student, so I was backpacking and staying at cheap hostels and like struggling with how expensive things in general were in Japan. And so I remember like talking to this American guy and saying to him like, oh yeah, like how are you doing this? Because he was going to be there for way longer than I was. And I was like, how are you able to afford it? Because Tokyo is so expensive. And he was like, yeah, well, like you find ways to like cut costs and things like that. You stay at like these cheap hostels. You find free things to do. And then when it came to food, he was talking about like basically going to 7-Eleven, like eating meals from 7-Eleven like every day. 7-Eleven in Japan is great, don't get me wrong, right? But like still, if you're talking about the variety and the options in 7-Eleven in Japan, it doesn't compare to like what we would just get at like a random food court or hawker center in Singapore. And I would say the price is like comparable to what we would get at a hawker center as well. So I mean, just to put that in perspective, like I think Singapore really does have a whole bunch of low cost options.
Yeah.
So even though you have to spend less, it's not like you're forced to just pick like certain things.
Yeah, I think for some hawker centers, they do have a cheaper, I think, item on the menu that is, I think, around $2.80 or less than $3 last I checked. Yeah, so those are, I guess, also to help the lower wage workers.
I mean, like you were talking about how lower wage workers and like how they do have.
Sorry,
options.
this is a new point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
trying
okay.
to like throw me off my groove, man.
Okay.
But they were talking about lower wage workers.
Yeah, so like we got to look at the comparison between wage and inflation. Like how much is our wage going in comparison to inflation? Looking in 2023, Ministry of Manpower said the real income growth is likely to remain negative, but it should like improve a little in 2024 with inflation easing. But is it going as fast as it should? Like prices are increasing a lot faster than our wages are coming in.
There's a report by the Straits Times about how a family of 4 consisting of parents, a preteen, and a teenager, they need at least 6.7K a month to afford a basic standard living. Okay? And we haven't even touched on those who might not have the average wage that Hannah was talking about, or those who have a larger family. And yeah, the Straits Times report also stated that a family of 2, a single parent and a toddler, needs 3.2K, around 3.2K per month. This was in 2023. If you are not in the higher wage sector, right, then it's a lot more difficult than it seems. As a poly graduate myself, I didn't go to university. Very important for me to highlight this because this means a lot to me lah. Like polytechnic graduates in Singapore
Exactly.
who only rely on the diploma. So the starting pay can be as low as 2.1k before CPF. So this can be like in industries like the media, the business industry. It can be as low as 2.1k before CPF. And if we minus off CPF about what, 400, 500, damn, you're only bringing around like 1.5k each month. And if you have a family or if you have like an elderly parent you have to take care of, how? I mean, how do you
How now?
get by?
Yeah.
When I first started also, like my salary wasn't that high. Wasn't that high. But then again, I was like just alone. I had no like I don't have a family, like I don't have kids, I don't have, a husband, and thank God my parents were still working. So it was okay for me. But even then I could still feel a slight pinch. So I can't imagine what it would be like for example, a poly graduate with families, with people to take care of. So very important for us to highlight that we want Singaporeans to live a comfortable life, especially for a country like Singapore that boasts a high standard of living. I think it's important for the residents in the country to also have a good standard of living instead of a basic standard of living.
The study defined like standard of living as one in which Singaporeans can afford housing, food and clothing, as well as opportunities for education, employment, and work-life balance, as well as access to healthcare.
Okay, but maybe it's important to say that the Ministry of Finance has disputed the findings from that study. I don't know, now I'm looking at the wrong article. Some of the things that the Ministry of Finance said was that the conclusions may not be an accurate reflection of the basic needs, largely due to the assumptions made in the study. So one of the things, that they pointed out specifically was that most participants had a post-secondary education and 15% of them were living in private properties. So the findings expressed may not be reflective of the circumstances of lower income families. It was pointed out in another article that maybe some of the items that were included in the study are in excess of are not reflective of the basic needs of the average household.
I think there's this item, a Davidoff perfume that is listed there. I think if you talk about deodorant and spray and all these things, I think will be much, much cheaper than, say, a perfume.
How much was the bottle of perfume?
I think $39.90 is this.
Oh, seriously?
In that thing.
$39.90 for a bottle of perfume?
In that survey.
Okay, so let's round it up to $40 because $39.90 is like...
You make it sound like it was like 150.
I mean, it is...
But it's still a luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You can get it at
I
dollar shop,
think
right?
it's important to, not smell.
I mean, when I
Bad?
smell...
But I mean, like you can take a shower and not
Yeah.
smell bad.
It would be
my
$3
God.
a month.
That smells expensive.
It's $3 a month for perfume. And the bottle of perfume it can have a couple of hundreds of spray.
I know. I think the profiles make a difference also. Who they're profiling, who they ask these questions. It doesn't seem like it's reflective of the lower wage workers.
Another thing that MOF mentioned was that one of the assumptions that the study made is that it understated the amount of government subsidies and financial support received by low-income families. That study done is not universally accepted by everyone as being a totally accurate view of what's going on.
Yeah, I suppose there are maybe some enrichment classes also included in the list. I don't think that is a universal thing. Yeah, so I can't really agree with that survey.
I mean, fair enough. The researchers did say that they ensured that there was no single individual that gets to define basic needs or discretionary spending. So that is actually based, if you want to look at it, it's not a template for what is considered basic living. It differs person to person, agreed. But with this average of a preteen and teenager and two working parents to have $6,000, and that's to comfortably live, that's quite a lot still.
Everybody has a different idea of what they want to do to live a comfortable life. But you have to adjust those choices according to what you can afford. And I think, like we said earlier, the basic stuff, if you don't include some of these luxuries, I think the basic stuff is affordable.
Pertaining to the point about wage growth, I think Drew, macro picture of things.
Yeah, just now you mentioned that in 2023, inflation was higher than wage growth, right? And the MOM projected that real wage growth would be negative in 2023. I think, it's undeniable that inflation in the last year has been high and that people have been feeling the pinch. But I think you've also got to look at beyond just 1 year and to look at like the last few years as well, and what the trend has been. And the truth is that over the last 5 years, not including 2023, wage has grown more than the rate of inflation. Yeah. So apart from 2020, which is once again another outlier year, wages grew more than inflation every single year. So I think this shows a track record that we can, hopefully expect to continue going forward as well. And that the government's management of this issue, like inflation with regards to wage growth, like that they'll manage it in a way that will be positive and beneficial going forward. So maybe just to bolster that a little bit, just some of the numbers. I'm getting my inflation figures from the International Monetary Fund, and I'm getting the wage growth statistics from SingStat. So for median wage, right? Median wage grew by 8.3% in 2022, while inflation was 6.1%. In 2021, median wage grew by 3.2% and inflation was 2.3%. Let's talk a bit about the 20th percentile, like the people who are not earning as much as the rest, right? In 2022, wage growth amongst the 20th percentile was 11.2%, and inflation, like I said earlier, was 6.1%. In 2021, wage growth amongst the 20th percentile was 6.8%, while inflation was 2.3%. So just some numbers to look at it.
Yeah, I just want to also circle back to wages. I think in Singapore, there's this thing called the progressive wage model. Those are, of course, is to anchor, to help the lower wage workers, not just increase in wages. I think it helps them to reskill, upskill, and of course to improve productivity. There are more sectors now than before, even for retail, security, they're all under this progressive wage model.
We have to go into progressive wage model now.
The progressive wage model, they peg wage rises based on skill upgrading, and then your productivity increases. And it's supposed to benefit workers by mapping out a clear career pathway for their wages to rise along with training and improvements in productivity and standards.
Phew.
I quote the website.
Sounds like you're arguing for me. But
no,
sure,
no, that is the definition of what progressive wage model is.
Upgrade your skills.
Of course.
But that's not cheap. You may have Skills Future, which gives you subsidized
upskilling courses and stuff like that.
Definitely, but there's only so much that Skills Future can provide. What if, in order to go to the next level, you need a master's degree? Now that's going to come in and cost thousands of dollars.
But now you're arguing that you need to get a master's to live
I'm just saying
life.
No.
I'm saying that maybe the next step is you need education.
I think you're understating what's available on Skills Future and maybe overstating what might be needed to continue progressing, right? So because you went from like Skills Future to like masters, that's like such a massive jump. And
No,
masters
obviously,
is,
yeah.
all over the world, masters is a big ticket item for anybody, no matter who you are.
Wait, I just want to quote DPM Lawrence Wong.
Phew.
He said, to achieve better wages for low wage workers, I think we support their continuous training too. And as they get better skills and they grow in their job responsibilities, they will have better careers. I think the key word is the government support continuous training. So it's not just Skills Future. I think there's another world out there. It's called NTUC under the retail sector. I just go to the website and I see WSQ training courses. WSQ is Workforce Skills Qualification, and I look at the modules, and there are a lot of modules there, and I think those are heavily subsidized by the government. So it's not just Skills Future. I think there's also this. It is not going to be like, hey, this is a $5,000 course, and you expect the worker to fork out that kind of money.
Okay, you mentioned retail workers, right? What about the other workers such as Grab drivers, food delivery riders?
Yeah, I just want to point you guys to this piece of news. I think gig workers in Singapore to get basic protection, including insurance and CPF, from as early as 2024. Yeah, so I think that is something that the government is trying to help us. I mean, they do realize the gig workers need protection.
Remember NTUC announcing like their accidents, right? If
The
gig workers,
$250.
yeah, they get $250 in
Okay,
NTUC fair price vouchers if you get injured for more than 5 days.
Actually, yes. Yes.
I remember reading that and just going like, how can this help if someone, let's just say, breaks their leg?
I know this
250.
because you wrote
I wrote that.
You wrote the article and I edited the video. In December 2023, they announced that eligible taxi drivers and delivery workers will get $250 NTUC Fair Price vouchers when they get injured at work.
The examples that were brought up was like broken leg, broken arm, which at least take 6 to 8 weeks to heal. And they're only given 250 NTUC Fair Price vouchers. And now this NTUC Fair Price voucher, if you skimp really, really, really hard, could maybe last you maybe 3 months?
Point is, there is that 250, right?
Mm-hmm.
From
But for-
nothing.
How are you going to work and earn money?
I mean, we're gonna look. Is Grab doing something about this? No.
Okay, I mean, yes, it's a good first step, but we
Yes.
are saying that this is not enough. And when the article was published in Mothership, right, when we also posted the video of NTUC Secretary General Ng Chee Ming talking about it at a doorstop interview, we had a lot of backlash from members of the public, from our viewers, from our readers, saying that this is like peanuts.
It's not going to
Enough.
cover the amount of money lost.
Yeah, I
And
mean, if you're looking at it in isolation, some people might not feel like it's enough. But if you look at it in like terms of the context of everything else in Singapore, insurance as well, and like, you know, the CPF like MediShield or whatever, you know, perhaps like all those things to come together, then yes, it might make things more affordable. Like this is like, you can't look at it as this is the one thing that will be supporting you in a time of an accident. It's like another
course, yeah.
brick that you've put in like a wall that is going to help you in case of a crisis.
Yeah.
Just to make a point, I think just like I said, Grab is not doing anything. I'm wrong. Just in case I got
Scared. His hands
according to the
trembling.
CNBC article, Grab
His
and
hands
Gojek are
trembling.
supportive
That's what Hannah said.
of
That's
Singapore.
what-
Yeah, so I'm not saying that there's nothing, but I'm just saying that
You cut that out
this
literally.
zero
Correction on himself.
to $250 is something, you know, and
Editor's note
and
at
this is what
12:56 p.m.
the union is trying to do for them, you know.
Okay, next point. The point that we want to make is that housing in Singapore is generally affordable and attainable for most people. So just some numbers to back this up. Singapore has one of the highest home ownership rates in the world. Even a place like Malaysia, that you would think is, you know, in your mind you might think Malaysia is a more affordable place to live. Malaysia has lower home ownership than Singapore. So Singapore, we have 89.3%, almost 90%. Malaysia, it's only 76.9%. The US, 65.9%. The UK, 63%. And then some of our friends in Asia, South Korea, 57.3%. Japan, 55%. I don't think anyone's denying that housing in Singapore can be expensive, especially private housing. But let's talk about public housing, which is what most people in Singapore live in. In the Asia Pacific region, Singapore was declared to have the most attainable housing. And that's mostly because of how affordable public housing is.
For a 3-room flat in Tanglin Halt, which is one of the new BTOs that's going to come up soon because that's got torn down. That place is my childhood. That's why I kind of researched on this. Like a 3-room flat can go from $364,000 to $509,000. Yeah, and then like a 4-room flat can go up to $702,000. If you look at resale, the average prices of resale flats for 4-room HDB for the first 6 months of 2023, so up to 11th June 2023, the most affordable resales are in Jurong East, Jurong West, Woodlands, Yishun, Choa Chu Kang, and the estimate income range to buy a 4-room HDB resale flat is between $6,100 to $6,300. So that's like your average income. You divide that by 2 because you would need to be a couple to get a house. You need to earn at least $3,000. Like this is after like loan and all.
Yeah, after
So
What's the price again? For
so, okay.
Tanglin Halt?
Okay, no, Tanglin Halt is 702 for 2,000 for 4-room flat. This is definitely before all your grants and all that. And then again, not everyone can get those grants. Like if I unfortunately choose a partner that already has a previous property, we're not gonna get like that first time buyer grant.
So I will point you guys to Teng. I'm just looking at the price for a May 2023 BTO flat launch.
I applied for that. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Park Meadow at Teng 4-room starting from $363,000. That's like what, half of Tanglin Halt?
And have you seen the artist impressions of them?
Stop.
It's so cool. It's so
Okay,
cool,
so
man.
Drew-
so calm,
Look
like
like it's from the
society.
future.
I don't know why, but Drew is
The
so
artist
in love
impressions of
with
Tengah is
Tengah.
amazing.
version.
It literally looks like a scene from Star Wars.
Yeah, man.
You
Oh,
like
don't you
it.
dare use Star Wars against
I'm
me.
just
Oh,
saying.
no wonder
Don't
you applied for that.
Hey, wait, but how much would you have paid out of pocket for
Yeah.
a Tengah? Like after all the grants and the loans and
Yeah.
things like that, and after it comes out
I
of your
don't know.
CPF.
I don't know the exact number, man.
But it was affordable, right? As you were willing to pay that amount.
Need a house, what?
Yeah, so I'm just saying. Like,
I
you
don't
could've-
know
you
if
could've-
willing is the right word to use here,
Okay, let
to
me
be
tell
honest.
you what the other option is, right? You eat like
The other option is live with my mother.
no, as in like in
emotional
most
damage.
countries, people don't even have,
Emotional
in many countries, people
damage.
don't have that option to even be able to purchase a house. So if they can't afford it, then they have to rent, right? And I think most people would agree that like owning a house is more favorable to renting. So the fact that you could even though you didn't get the Tengah thing, right? Even though you didn't get the unit, the fact that you could even put in an application and try, and if you had got it, you would have paid for it, I think shows that it's attainable for you.
Yeah, so let me bring some figures, right? From HDB. Do I need to
Hit him-
expand on
hit
the
him with the
acronym?
numbers.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Go.
I'm not going to.
What is HDB?
Eligible first-time families can benefit from the enhanced CPF housing grant bracket EHG of up to $80,000. Including the EHG, flat buyers may pay as little as $163,000 for a 3-room flat and $290,000 for a 4-room flat in the non-mature estate of Tengah.
Okay, so I think at this point we gotta go more in depth and like really look inside and look at the micro picture, because I think as someone who experienced going through the BTO system and not getting it after more than once, my partner and I we kind of like already decided we might as well just go for resale, and then we see the resale prices and we're like, damn bro, like is this really what
How
we're
many
going
times
for?
do you guys try?
3, which is not a lot.
You never
Wow.
you didn't
Wait till you hear
ever
my
get a
story.
choice to pick a flat.
No.
Oh wow. Okay.
No. So one of it, we didn't even get a queue number. They were just like, nah.
That's so crazy. Are you applying
Right?
for? I mean, like apart from Tengah, what other projects were you applying for?
Okay, to be fair, the first one was Tampines because we were like, let's go Tampines. But because my mom lives in Tampines
Yeah,
and we were
yeah.
like, we can get the proximity grant. But we're really losing hope, man. It's quite sad actually. So what I'm trying to convey here is that it's very easy for you to say like there are many options for Singaporeans to choose. Like if resale is expensive, then just opt for like BTO if you're eligible, or opt for a cheaper flat, stuff like that. But the average Singaporean experience is not as easy as that. So there are, beyond people who experience stuff like me, there's also families that have like elderly parents, parents who have like 3 kids, for example, small kids, they need bigger house.
And some families might need the space like sooner than a BTO could actually offer. So
Yeah.
resale would be the most tangible like solution to their problems.
And like if nothing else works, they might end up just going for rental. And we haven't even got into the rising rental rates.
So if we're looking at the same places again, Jurong East, to rent a 3-room flat, 2.3k. Oh no, sorry, not 2.3, 2.5 for a 3-room flat, 3-room HDB flat. And these are for people who don't have the option or may not be able to have a house yet, or they're waiting for the BTO. So there's an added expenditure.
And we all know like waiting periods for BTO can...
3 to 4 years. So that's 3 to 4 years of paying 2.5k every month on top of the salary that you bring in after CPF, on top of probably like your daily groceries, your transport costs.
Basic needs lah.
Yeah, your
The
basic
basic-
needs.
the-
Yes, undeniable that these scenarios exist, that some people might really need to rent, some people might need to get out of, households where it's an untenable situation. But I guess the numbers would show that in general, like, because since 90% of Singaporeans own their house, right? In general, like, housing isn't an issue in Singapore in terms of affordability. And my own personal experiences, I can't afford a house right now, right? But like it's hard to argue with like the numbers, even though like my personal experiences, some people's personal experiences seem to go contrary against that.
I would like to point out there was a very long debate last year about housing. If Parliament had to debate hours over it, I think we'll still be stuck here for the next couple of days if we're still talking
Yeah,
about
and I want to
housing.
go home. Okay, let's move on.
Healthcare. Specifically, mental health care.
Yeah, I mean, we important for us to acknowledge that yes, healthcare in terms of like physical health, we do have the MediSave, MediShield, and and all those, we get that it's technically healthcare in general is affordable, but then again, we are zooming in into the marginalized members of society, right? Because they are part of the Singapore society as well, and we cannot just overlook the issues that they face. So, for example, those facing mental health issues, and dealing with mental health is very expensive in Singapore. For example, a therapy session can cost about nearly $200 per session.
This is private.
Yes, if we were to go to like a public one, the waiting time to get an appointment is a long time.
29 days. And
Yeah.
29 days can make or break for some people.
Yes, and the reason why we're highlighting mental health in particular, I think, of course, to bring up some stats. So, in a report by CNA in September 2023, they stated that the prevalence of poor mental health in Singapore increased from 13.4% to 17% in 2023. Yeah, so younger adults aged 18 to 29 had the highest proportion of poor mental health. It's such a serious issue. It's an issue that a large number of our society are facing. If dealing with mental health is expensive, then we have to do something about it.
Yeah, so I think the team is talking about mental health, but before I go into that, there are 26 schemes under MOH.
Sorry.
Hey, MOH, you want to hire me? Yeah.
MOH, Ministry of Health.
Yeah, so a lot of schemes there and subsidies.
Let's
right?
go.
But before, I'm done with the
Oh, I thought you were
the
gonna
other
name
side
it
of
all.
things.
I thought you were
Mental
gonna-
health. Okay, let's talk about mental health. IMH, if you require some help.
with, comms and
comms
marketing.
help, yeah, I'm here. Because they are, just reading off their website, right? I think they are financial support and subsidies. One is called the Chronic Disease Management Program. It's up to 150 a day for daily hospital charges, subject to a maximum of 5,000 a year. And then I don't want to go into all the details, but I think they have a list of free counselling services also. Silver Ribbon Singapore, Singapore Association for Mental Health, Fei Yue E-Counselling Center. So those are free resources. And last year, there was a launch of the National Mental Health and Wellbeing Strategy. So if I had to quote this MOH press release, it says that today, 17 of the existing 24 polyclinics provide mental health services. And they plan to extend the provision of mental health services to all new polyclinics by 2030. Of course, I'm not disputing that we need more help. Of course, there's and I think I agree that the private side can be quite costly.
First of all, mental health is super important, and yeah, it's a big issue. But like, it's only relatively recently that, like, as a society, we've begun to recognize what a big issue it is. So, given that, like, I don't think it's fair to expect immediately to have the capacity to address this thing that we're only starting to come to terms with. And when it comes to private things as well, right? If you look back like maybe 10, 20 years, therapy and stuff was such a niche thing. So that's why you can only expect like a small amount of practitioners, and that means that they, can charge more. But as we begin to, come to terms with our mental health needs, perhaps we can expect more practitioners to come into the marketplace, and that will bring the cost of it down in the future.
Yeah, he's right. I mean, the government is trying to do more for mental health, and we can see that through a lot of the Pali debates, even the Committee of Supply debates. I think the Ministry of Health, every year, I think, they have like a segment just for mental health. And I think, yeah, Drew is right. I will concede your point first. Let's move on.
Okay. I think our final point that we want to talk about is Singapore is more affordable compared to other countries. We've seen this already. I think we talked a little bit about housing and home ownership in Singapore, how it's more attainable. One thing that's always brought up is how expensive cars are in Singapore. But I would say that because of Singapore's public transportation system and how accessible it is and how easy it is to get around, transportation in Singapore is actually affordable if we're not going to go by other country standards in terms of having to own a car. In fact, let me hit you with some numbers.
Cohort facts.
2018 study by researchers from NTU found that Singapore, compared Singapore with other major cities around the world like San Francisco, New York, London, Taipei, Hong Kong, Beijing, Paris, Toronto, Seoul, Tokyo, and Sydney. And it found that Singapore's public transportation system ranked second in terms of affordability. I also want to add that like even taxis in Singapore are way cheaper than taxis in Western countries, especially, or even like a place like Japan. When I was living in Australia, I would like never ever like fathom taking a taxi because you like literally like could rack up like a over $100 bill just by taking a short taxi ride, a relatively short taxi ride.
I mean, look at the number of MRT stations popping out all over the area. I think near our place we are waiting for the new MRT lines.
Don't say which MRTs.
Don't worry. But I think the adult monthly concession, unlimited travel on bus and MRT is $128. Sometimes when you have nothing to do, you can take a bus ride like me. I love taking bus rides. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know why that's so funny to me.
Right. It's like some loser looking out the window.
Yeah,
That's when you can ponder life's big questions
Yeah.
on a bus ride.
I mean, I've always been a public transport girl all
Gal.
my life. Like,
Yeah, public transport gal. MRT, woo!
So I know that the price hike for buses was 7% this year, 2023. Like, that's actually quite like a fair bit. And if you say like it's $128 a month for unlimited travel, bus and train, right? It's still quite a large sum to just fork out at one go.
I don't know how to
I
solve
mean,
that
like,
pinch, but it
yeah,
is
no, but-
worthwhile money to be spent.
Again, if you want to like really go deeper, not everybody can easily take out $128 and carry on with their lives. If you talk about lower income workers, people who have to support their families first, who are paying for example, their parents' transport money or their kids' transport money. And then, yeah.
Ministry of Transport. That they are hiring.
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
who to
What
look
ministry
for.
has he not like brought up?
Yeah, because there's this thing called public transport vouchers also.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's to help lower wage workers.
Wait, okay, so how much is the transport vouchers?
The government will make available PTVs, public transport vouchers worth $50 each, which can be used to top up fare cards or monthly passes.
So it's $50 one time, right? If you spend
If I-
128 and you do
Wait,
it
I
for
don't
a
want to get
whole
off
year,
now. Let me
it's $1,536.
Let him read through properly first.
Oh yes. So I think the public transport vouchers is a one-time exercise every year.
Definitely that $50 can go a long way. But if that person has to take public transport every day and they use the $128 unlimited travel, you take that times 12 minus the $50, you still have to pay $1,486 a year for public transport.
It can be a lot for certain members of society who have other responsibilities.
Yeah, I mean it's been quite a long debate.
Yeah.
We are frantically trying to fact check and all.
We are scared.
Again, this is we're debating for the sake of this debate. Doesn't mean that we stand for anything.
Your heart beating fast.
My heart beating fast. But if Deputy Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, you're looking for help, I want to talk about Forward Singapore. We are a country that is work in progress. He spoke about refreshing the social compact. I think that is a very good starting point where the rich can do more, and then the lower income workers can get more help. I think that's only fair. Yes, I think prices are going up, but there's always help to make it affordable to live in Singapore.
We're looking like on the ground, stuff that is being said online. They've even brought it up in Parliament and had a debate on the cost of living situation in Singapore. So I think it shows that as much as we like to think that, it's been happening over the years, kind of slow. I mean, like look at Yakun. Yakun's prices went up within 1 year. It was $4.80 in January 2022. Now it's $6.30. So it's not just creeping up on you. It's there. It's in your face. It's happening right now. You might have to take a step back and like, is this really as affordable as it could be?
The end of our discussion. That's the end of our debate.
But before we end the episode, maybe it might be a good time now to take a moment to say real and to
Say
share
real.
our personal thoughts and
real.
feelings about the topic. Okay, to say real, Hannah, is Singapore affordable or not affordable?
I think it's not as simple as affordable, not affordable. I think in some aspects, yes, it is more affordable than other places, but there are other aspects that you're like, this could be better.
Yeah, it's very difficult to give an answer, and personally it's very easy for me to say, it's so expensive. Everything's so expensive. Walao, why is Singapore so expensive? But then if I were to take a step back, I'll be like, technically there are some things that we should be grateful for and stuff like that. But yeah.
For me,
You love the government, right?
that aside, I think of course prices are. I can feel it lah, because I mean we do grocery shopping and sometimes like these few items like $50. Check.
What about the potato chips?
That one is luxury.
Calvin,
I
potato chips not cheap
consider
anymore, sia.
potato chips a luxury item. Sometimes you watch Netflix and eat something, mouth itchy or something, but it's not necessary at all.
Mouth itchy.
Yeah. So it's getting expensive. I can feel it. But I think it is still okay.
Oh, people in Reddit gonna come for you.
I mean, this is just my experience. I will try to put myself in the lower wage workers' shoes also. That's something that I think we can always do more. Yeah. I mean, yes, all the help and all these things. So that's why I'm looking forward to what the Forward Singapore is about.
Looking forward. He's looking forward
Because
to Forward Singapore.
I don't think it's a silver bullet, like I gotta cure everything. But I think really is the right step.
Wow, even during the cereal segment, you still.
That's it.
Forward
That's how
Singapore.
he really
I think
feels.
it's okay, it's good. Right?
I mean, I think in terms of like providing the absolute like basic needs that someone needs to like survive, Singapore does a pretty good job of making sure that if you're a citizen or a permanent resident here, or if you live in Singapore, that you don't necessarily have to worry about like starving to death, or you don't have to worry about like not having a roof over your head. But then when you go beyond that and you think about like some of the stuff that will make life worth living, I think it can get relatively expensive. But cost of living is a problem like all over the world at the moment. I think global inflation is a problem. What I do find like somewhat like worrying was when I was looking up stats in like the research for this, you can see that the gap between the median pay and the 20th percentile is like getting bigger and bigger with each
worrying,
passing year. So that's something to be worried about, and to think about whether Singapore will continue to be affordable for lower income people. I think is something that's worth paying attention to. I'm not necessarily saying that it's not, but as a society, we probably have to look out for and think about how we're going to approach that widening gap in the future.
Before we end, could we just have go one round and maybe share
Your
money
pay.
saving tips?
No.
What is this?
Okay, man, it's good information.
Okay. We're actually, in terms of money saving, like, so we talked about cars and like houses and things like that, right? I do think like it's worth adjusting. Like, why just because in other countries, like, people have a car, do we feel like, oh, we need a car in Singapore? I don't think like we should fall into that kind of trap. So like, in terms of like what you want, I don't think we should be less influenced by what we see in other countries, and just like be more, it should be more in line with like our own personal context and also the context that we live in. So I think that's like one money saving tip, right? Because like growing up as a guy, I guess like you always feel like, what's your dream car, or whatever, right? Like,
Damn the media.
yeah, but now I guess like now that like I'm been working for a little bit and like looking at the financial thing, I'm like, yeah, maybe I don't need a car, and like I can be happy without a car. I don't think
Was that a money saving tip?
It is, because like now I'm not gonna
Just don't get a car. It's actually
like
what it's saying.
$100,000
It's money saving tip. Don't get a car,
the
guys.
money saving tip is
Save 100,000.
adjust what you want according to what you can afford.
I
Ladies,
mean, that
anything
one
more
is
practical?
that's very generic. Yeah.
I was
Good tip.
not me thinking like, oh, wait for sale. Like, honestly, wait for
That's what
sale.
I was gonna say every time.
It's like I've been looking to get like new shoes, but I always just keep an eye out, just like hope for the prices to drop. Like if patience does pay off.
I'm terrible at saving money. I need help. I need the tip. Give me some
Okay,
tips.
you get tips. I think try to buy in bulk. Detergent, toilet paper, that kind of stuff.
Sanitary like products.
Oh, buy in bulk is still not cheap. Just say.
Oh really?
Yeah,
You don't get discount just for
Why
buying
you-
more.
Oh really? How about Shopee?
Stop freaking Shopee up.
I'm just asking questions, not providing solutions.
buy in bulk.
Don't be a woman.
Yeah, I think buy in bulk. I think that helps. Okay, I guess we have come to the end of the show.
Just to recap for our listeners and our viewers, the statement that we debated on today was Singapore is an affordable country to live in. So Drew and Xing Qi, they were in the 4 team, so they agreed with the statement. Hannah and I, Shahinda, we are in the against team, so we disagree that Singapore is an affordable country to live in.
And we've put up a poll in our YouTube community page to let you guys decide who you think won. So just head on over there and vote.
Members of the winning team get one whole ass point each.
1 point!
Yeah, as you can see, we need to fill up the board. Yeah, we're all gunning for the title of Master Debater.
Put my CV.
So please vote now.
And just another gentle reminder that the views we express here do not represent the views of Mothership or associated parties, and sometimes not even our own views. We're just taking part in this debate.
Unless you're looking for jobs.
Stop.
And the
stop.
ministries.
Various ministries.
And remember, if you're watching on YouTube, do like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're listening on Spotify, leave us a rating. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and finally, thank you to Audio-Technica for powering the audio for this podcast.
All right. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah,
See you
thanks.
guys next
Bye.
episode.